Welcome to another episode of UEN's PDTV. I'm your host, Katie Blunt. Something exciting happens in Utah every March. I'm not talking about the luck of the Irish, and I'm not talking about basketball. For educators in Utah, March is all about the annual conference for the Utah Coalition for Educational Technology, also known as UCET. Educators from across the state gather together to learn about the effective use of educational technology in the classroom. The UCET conference is a perfect example of education technology competency number 2 in action. This competency focuses on professional growth and leadership. It states that educators should seek out, join, and participate in local and global learning communities to pursue professional learning and stay current with research that supports student learning. Educators should also plan and provide professional learning experiences for grade level teams, departments, schools, or professional conferences. In this episode, we have traveled to the Utah Valley Convention Center to talk to a teacher, an administrator, and a UCET board member about their UCET experience. Amy Fulmer is a science teacher at Panguitch Middle School in Garfield County School District. Amy, it's so great to meet up with you here at UCET.
Thank you.
All right, so I want to know, how does UCET support you in professional learning, from building your professional learning community to staying up to date on the latest research? How does UCET support you in that?
It's been fun. This is my first time coming to this conference. I'm teaching at the middle school right now in rural southern Utah, so I have that perfect class sizes that many teachers dream of, where we hover that beautiful 20, 25 number. But the downside of that is that I am the only science teacher that our entire school has. So fun side, I get to see all of the kids, but sometimes I feel like I miss out on that collaboration that happens when you get to be active in a PLC and some of the bigger schools. And so I've really appreciated that, coming here to UCET and being able to see other teachers who maybe aren't even teaching middle school science, but even just middle school in general. I kind of laughed. They had, one of the vendors was helping with this hall pass, and he's so how many students in your school? And I was like 55, and he's I don't think we have a product for you. And I was like, oh. But the downside of those small class sizes is just getting stuck in your own ways. I'm the only one, so I don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of, to collaborate with. But today I walked away with some ideas of things that I just didn't know to try. The one presenter cracked me up. He showed a video clip of students using the old speed dial phone, and 18-year-olds trying to do that. And I was like, but really? And he said, if you're still teaching the same way that things were taught when you went to school, you're not up to date. And that caused a lot of personal reflection for me. Am I still doing that because that's my home base, that's what I feel? And what are some of the things that are going to stretch me out of that box? And I feel like some of the breakout sessions today helped me do that.
I love that. And I love your perspective as a rural teacher. I can totally see everything that you were pointing out, the pros and the cons, the things that you have, that you don't have. And that's really neat to be able to come here and get that new perspective. Okay, so if you had to pick one thing as your big takeaway from today at UCET, what would it be?
I know it's tricky because there's so many different things that I learned in probably different areas of my own growth. But I think right now I personally am just focused on wanting to connect more with my students, trying to bounce back from some of the social and emotional that's been happening to us globally. And so I went to one session today that was talking about brain breaks and giving us that chance. And she started by having us reflect, when do you feel overloaded? How do you know that your brain is feeling overloaded? And then she throws some statistics at us, and I was like, really though, I really do feel that way. And that helps me realize that the same things that I'm feeling, if I'm bored or I'm tired or I'm whatever, that's gonna have the same effect on my students. And so that was probably a takeaway for me, is I am sitting here and my feet kind of hurt. and I'm maybe not paying attention like I should have, and I'm ready to do something different. And I think my students totally feel that. I had a few students, like, their faces came to mind, and I was like, oh, that's why they're always like squirming in their seats. And just some of those reminders were really good for me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Those are great takeaways. I love the variety of topics that you have been learning about. Thank you for sharing your UCET experience with us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Troy Lent is the Technology Director for Iron County School District. Welcome, Troy.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, tell me, how has UCET been a source for professional learning and really building up your learning communities for you?
So isn't it interesting how 2 years ago at about this time, the learning aspect, especially with technology, some school districts did not even have a one-to-one in terms of device-student ratio in place. And then we fast forward to what UCET is presenting today. It was just really compelling to look and see how we used to think that education was, and technology in education, and what it has evolved to today. And so we see that these things that were not really prevalent back at that time, that were not on everybody's top of the list items, are now very much on the top of the list items. And so it just really helps us to see that this technology and this education is growing globally, and there's not a better place to come and be able to do that and network with the teachers and those that are here.
Oh, that is great. And I love that you said that it was always there, but we've just been really focused in on it. We've had to be over these last couple of years.
Yes, absolutely. It was one of those things where we just did not realize what was coming up on us that fast. A lot of times it takes those events to happen to kind of shake us and be able to look at the technology that we have and how best we can use that technology. And this is one of those times where that is really shown.
There are particular sessions and ideas that you look for as an administrator. So how has UCET really supported you in that role as an admin?
Well, one thing that really helps, and I'll get to the UCET aspect of this, but because UCET kind of is organized by the same state groups in some cases as what other groups are, like the TCC group, I have an opportunity to attend both. So I can come to TCC where we learn about what tech directors' responsibilities are in the state and get a feel for what's about to come inside at UCET. Coming to UCET, it's getting to see the things that I don't often get to see when I don't have enough time to spend in schools. And my getting into education and into technology did not come through the traditional way of being a teacher or going through it that way. I came through working for technology companies. So the vendors that we see here is very much what my world was for 25 years. So I have a great appreciation for the ups and downs that they have to deal with as they're working and trying to get the attention of educators. But so I get to meet with them, kind of learn about the new technologies that they have, and then how they're making that available for classrooms and in the school.
That's great. All right, so you've been to a lot of sessions so far at UCET. What would you say so far is your biggest takeaway?
Maybe can answer that best by just giving an analogy or a little bit of a story that happened to me when I was in college quite a few years ago. I had an elective course where a professor said, 30, 40 years from now, you're going to need to have a lot of social support for students. And it didn't really resonate at the time why that would be the case, but we certainly are seeing it today. The support that we have to be able to provide students in this ever-growing technology world. The amount of technology that we have being pushed at students constantly and their ability to react to that technology is sometimes overwhelming. And so it is one of those things where you look at it and say, he was right, and now it's time for us to really be prepared. And so I've noticed at this conference, there has been a lot of that, whether it be the speakers, those that are giving sessions, they've kind of talked about the need to have this kind of support for those that are using technology. And I've noticed some of the sessions that are coming up even tomorrow talk about that. My aha moment in that is the fact that I feel very fulfilled to know that that is what's happening in the schools, that it's not just the technology, it's the support for the kids that are going to be using the technology.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your UCET experience with us.
Thank you.
Clint Stevens is a Regional Technology Integration Specialist at SEDC, which is the Southwest Educational Development Center in Cedar City. He's also this year's UCET President. Hi, Clint.
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you here on PDTV. So tell me a little bit about your process as president for providing this professional conference for Utah educators.
First process is just surrounding myself with a great team. The UCET board, and you're included on that, are just some incredible educators and people from around the state that work tirelessly and have really come together to do an amazing job for the conference. You know, and there was so much uncertainty, obviously, with everything going on in the world, and we were afraid 2-3 months ago that if we even have a conference or if we'd have to have it totally online. So I could not be more thrilled with how it's turned out and the feedback we've been getting and just everybody in general has been so positive. So
I think it's kind of a challenge, and you know this from being at SEDC, to meet the needs of educators in all different positions from all over the state. Do you have any ways that you've been able to kind of tackle that mission?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, especially years back, this has been an educational technology conference and that only. It's been in that real, you know, narrow lane. But with where we're at, with digital teaching and learning in the state, with all the initiatives that have gone on, and just the access to everything that teachers have, we really need to start being, you know, have a wider tent, a broader tent for folks. And so this year, we decided we'd do those conference strands. We had 12, I think, different, and we just said, here's a room. If you're interested in the topic, this is your place. We had, you know, Google and Apple and coaching and filmmaking and just all kinds of different, you know, things that aren't necessarily educational technology, but to help serve and bring in a larger audience.
That's really great. Very strategic, and again, like you said, the team coming together and saying, what can these strands be so we can reach people? All right, so I know it's a big question, but what is your biggest aha moment from UCET so far?
So far, I think what we're doing as far as the hybrid approach with you know, offering our streaming options, making those recordings available later on, I think it's just a huge value add for our conference. I mean, it's obviously a minority of people who are attending virtually, but I think that's a segment that could grow over time and not maybe even necessarily just be Utah teachers. You know, it's something we could turn into a nationwide conference that way and still provide a good experience for the folks here in Utah that come in person.
I love that. That was great. Thank you so much for serving as UCET president and for talking to us today.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an educator, administrator, coach, whatever your position is, you too can implement Education Technology Competency number 2 in your work. First, seek out opportunities to participate in local and global learning communities. UCET is a great place to start. UCET has a conference, as we know, but it also supports ed camps throughout the state during the year and a weekly Twitter chat called Utah Ed Chat. You can also participate in a variety of local conferences. Conferences are available for every content area and every educational position. For example, USBE plans summer conferences for content areas. Organizations like UELMA also plan conferences. You can also attend national education conferences such as ISTE, FETC, Q, NCTM, TESOL. Have I given you enough letters? There are lots of options. Talk to your administrator or your district leaders to see if they can support you in attending a national conference. They might even have suggestions of which conferences would be best for you. You can also look for ways to help provide professional learning experiences for others. You can start at your own grade level or department meetings. teach one another, share best practices, share what is working. You can also participate in whole school or district professional learning opportunities. Everyone can take part. Share what you're learning formally and informally. You can also participate in professional conferences like UCET. Consider submitting to be a presenter at a conference. Volunteer. And you can even run for an elected board position. To access more resources to help you build your competency in these areas, be sure to visit uen.org/PDTV and explore the teacher toolkit that accompanies this episode. Thanks for watching this episode of UEN's PDTV. For more professional development resources and to schedule a training, visit uen.org/development. We'll see you next time.